Hello guys, and welcome to this video where I'll be showing you some of the advanced features of Sketchware and how you can use them to create real apps, right? So let's start with this component tab here. The component is simply added features to your app. So right now we have no component in here, so we can click on this plus button and we'll see a list of components that we can add to our app. A simple definition for what a component is that a component is a combination of view and code. So if you need something and you want to add it to your app and you don't find it in the view section here, if you can't find it here, then where you should check is the components tab, right? So it contains a component is simply a piece of code combined with a view, right? So that is why it's not in the view tab. So here are some list of components you can add to your app. We have the intent, share preference, calendar, timer. So for instance, you want to do something after a specific second, so you use what is called a timer. If you want to show a pop-up on your app, use the dialog. The vibrator, if you want to vibrate after something happens in your app, use the vibrator. Media player, camera, file picker, all of these are components that you can easily add to your application. So let me take an example on how to use a component in the Sketchware app. So you click on the component, it's going to ask you to enter a name for your component. So let's say intent. Let me just give it a name as intent 1. Right, so we click on add. Then our component has been added successfully to the project. So what is an intent? If you want to perform a specific action, whether it's to open a new page, whether it's to view a file, whether it's to open a new file, it may be you want to send a new message to another app. Maybe you want to open another app from your app, use what is called the intent, right? So there are many things you can use the intent for, but the basic use of the intent is to open another app or open a new page from your app, right? So we'll be taking a practical example on how to use the intent. So the next tab we'll go to is the event tab. Okay, so when we come to this event tab, you'll see different tabs also under this tab. We have the activity view, component, drawer, and the more blocks. So we'll focus on the main things that we'll need for you to understand at in a basic level, right? So what is an activity? Okay, an activity is simply a page, right? For instance, this page that we are on this app is an activity, right? An activity is a single page on each app, right? So that's the most simplest definition of an activity, a single page on each app. So the reason why this on create here is showing is this is the default event that you have in an activity. This on create event is called when your activity starts in the first place, when you open your app in the first place, right? This is what is called. So any code inside this event will run when your app is being opened for the first time, closes each time your users close the app and reopen it again. The code in this onCreate event is being run, right? So you have the freedom to organize what you want to happen when the user opens your app for the first time, right? This is what's called the onCreate event. So for every activity, you also have the freedom to add other events too, right? So we click on this plus button and we see other events that we can add to our activity, right? These are events. Like I'll give example on some of these events. Let's add this on stop, on pause, on resume, for you to understand what they are. So we added on stop, on pause, and on resume. So let's say for instance a user is using your app currently and he does something like this. He goes out of your app and then returns back. What he just did was he paused your app, right? And if you want to run a code when a user pauses your app, if you want to run a code when a user pauses your app, you do that in the on pause event, right? Everything you organize everything when a user pauses your app. Maybe it's to save something before the person comes back into your app, or is to send a message to the user. Anything at all, you have the freedom to do that. So the on stop is called when someone exists your app, right? So when your app stops, either by the user stopping it, this event is called before the app is stopped, right? So you can do anything with this event. The on resume is used when the user resumes your app. The on pause event is called when a user pauses your app, maybe goes out of your app and does something, then come back. That's what all these events are, right? So you have a basic understanding of what an event is in the sketch web, right? So this view tab under the event lets you organize events for each view on your activity. So if you come to this view tab, we have two views here, the text view and the edit text. Then when you come to this event tab, click on plus here. All these events here are related to the views you have on your screen. Right, so you have the text view. The event we have is on long click. So what do you want to happen when a user long click the text view? What do you want to happen when a user clicks on your text view for short time? What do you want the user to do when they click on the edit text for a long time? Also the same thing when the user click on the edit text for a short time. Then when the text changes, right, in the edit text, you can do something with this event here, right? Those are what these events are, right? So you can add any of them, click on add, then you organize them. Each of them you have the opportunity to organize what you want to do with them, right? This component enables you organize events for your component. So the only component we have on this app for now is the intent, right? And the intent doesn't have any event, so we can't add any intent. We can't add any event on the intent. If you are knowledgeable in coding, you can use these more blocks to organize your own custom code into the sketchware app, right? As long as you are good in coding. So for this course, this is not really that important, so we'll skip this more block, since what we are doing in this video, in this course, is to create apps without coding, right? So like I said earlier, this is a page in your app. It's called an activity. This is an activity. So how do you add more pages to your app and move from one page to another? So to do that, you go to this view here. Then here you see the list of the pages available already in your app, right? For now we have only just one page, so you can click on this plus button to add more pages into your app. So here again you have the choice of customizing how you want your app to look like. If I don't want this toolbar to appear, I choose no toolbar. If I want the status bar to disappear, I choose no status bar. If I want the fab icon here, I also click that. And also at the bottom here, I choose what kind of app I want it to be. For now, we'll make it portrait, unspoiled, hidden. Then first, before you click on add, you give it a name. Choose a name for your next page. Let's call it test page. And then click on add. Now it has been added successfully to our app, right? So to customize and add everything, to go back to the home page. Now for you to start adding views into the page we just created, you select it from here. This drop down button here shows you the list of views also, so you click on it. So here you have the choice of customizing the view of the page you just created. As I've explained, you just drag and drop anything you want to add. You drag and drop here, That's as simple as that. You drag and drop and add. So that is how to create a new page. How do you move from one page to another inside your app? Let's go back to the home screen, the home page. Like this is the home page, the one we started with. So add a button. This is the button, right? So I want to go to a next page. Give it a name, like next page. We want to do something. We want to open the next page when the user clicks on this button, right? So what we will do is to click the button itself, go to the events tab, then on click. We want to do something on the on click. Now what we will do is to go to the components. Since I told you earlier that an intent help you to move from one page to another, we'll go to the components because we already added the component intent to the app. We'll go to the component, then look for where intent is showing, then add set screen, add it there, then we'll drag start activity, and then move it there. This is just what we need to move from one page to another. You pick up set screen, then start activity. What it means is that we'll set the intent. This is, remember, this is the intent we created earlier. We select the intent, then select the name of the page you want to open after this button is being clicked. Of course, it's test page activity, right? Then we start this intent, the intent we created earlier, right? So what all of this means is that you set intent, we pick up this intent that we created earlier, right? Then we set the screen for that intent to test page. When that is done, we start the intent, means go from this page to the next page, right? If this was not there, this start page was not there, it will do nothing, right? So what makes it move is this start activity page. We can run this app now to see. So when your app is done building, you click on install. Now when we click on this button, now we should be directed to the next page. This was the page we created earlier, right? So if we click back now, we will be directed back. Now you understand how to move from one page to another, creating apps with Sketchware, right? Now how do you pass a data from this page to this page? Well, in real apps, you don't just want to open a new page. Sometimes you would want to, for instance, collect user input from here, collect username, the person's name from here, right? Then when you click on this next page, you want to get that text on this page. To do that, so this is the home page, right? We want to pass data from this page to the next page. So first of all, we want to collect information from this edit text. Let's give it an ID that we'll be able to remember. Change the ID to you save that. So this edit text now is called name input, right? So we use that ID to get the text. How do you get the text from an edit text? Click on this button, the event. What we have been able to do so far is to just open a new activity when the button is clicked, right? But what we want to do in real life is to collect information from the current page, then send it into the next page that we would want to open. How do you do that? Then you come to this variable. Now, what is a variable? A variable is just a programming term that describes a situation where you want to collect a value and store it somewhere, right? So the name of the variable is the name of the location where you stored it. Then you assign a value to it, right? So how do you add a variable? Just add a variable here. These are data types that you'll be able to collect and store with a variable, right? So you are able to create a boolean, number, string, or map. A boolean is just a true or false variable. A number variable stores a number. A string variable stores text, while a map stores a list of. For this example, we want to store a text, right? The name is a text, so we'll use the string to do that. Let's call this name, right? Now we have a variable. So now this variable has been added, but it doesn't have a value yet. How do we give it a value? To do that, you drag this here from this set string to that. This block here that we just added is very important in setting the value of a variable, right? So the blocks reads set dash to dash. So the first dash is for us to select the variable name. So this is the variable we created earlier, so we select it. Now what do we want to set it to? What is the value to this variable? The value is, remember, we want to get the value from the edit text, right? We want to get the value from the view edit text we added. So you go to view, right? Then you look for get text. Text view, get text. It's still the same thing with text. It's the same with text or edit text.
So when you click on that, it shows you all the views already on your screen, right? So we pick the specific one we want to set. We want to get the text from, which is our edit text, which has an ID as name input. So we select that.
So what we just did is that we set the variable name to the value of the edit text. That's just what we did, right? So we've successfully gotten the value of the edit text and assigned it to a variable that stores the value for us, which is called name variable, right? So now this variable name here stores the value of whatever the user type in. Now how do we transfer this data, this name, to the next activity? How we do that is by we're coming to the component section here, the same way we got the intent section, where you see the intent. You look down, we will use what is called put extra. You drag and drop it here. Now what this put extra means is that you set a key, which is a unique name for this, a unique name for the data we want to pass to the next page. Then we set the value, right? For now, the value we want to set is name, right? The name is the value of the data we want to pass to the next page. Now we'll give it a unique name. This unique key will be used to retrieve the value back in the next page. Let's call it data, right? Then we set the intent to intent. Now we can combine these two together. And then what all of this does is that, first of all, we created a variable, right? We set the value of this variable to the input we get from the user. Then we take this input and then pass it to the next page we want to open. Set the name of the screen we want to open. Then we start the intent, right?
Now let's run the app to see what we get.
Now when you come to the page, you open the app, you type in name, and then click on next page. You see the page now opens with the data being passed. But how do we display this data that has been passed from the previous activity to this present activity? To do that, we will go to the page itself. Now we're on the page. We would add a text view that will display the data that has been passed to this page, right? So we add a text view. Give this text view an ID that will identify it, so we can know. Let's call it display. There we go. Now we'll go to the onCreate event of this page, right? Remember I said every activity, every page has an onCreate event, and what you want to do here is to display on this text view the data that was received when this page were first opened. So we'll do that with the onCreate event, right? So what happens is when this page first opens, right, what do we want to do? We want to just get the data that was passed to this page and display it to our text view, right? Now what we want to do is simply display this data that has been passed into the screen on the text view, right? So you go to view, look for set text. Set text, drag and drop it here. Now what is the value you want to set? Choose the text view, we call it display. Now choose what value do we want to set this text view to. Of course it's the data we just received, right? So what we will do is to go to component, then get the data we just passed into this activity by using the activity get extra key, right? This extra key is the key we used in the previous activity, right, which is data. So we now get the value passed and then set it to what we just did here. Now is to set the text view to set the text of the text view to the data we just got by using get key, right, by using the get extra key. Now if we run this app, we should get the desired result. Let's enter a name. Now when we click on this button, we should get the desired result. This is how to pass data from one page to another. So we're able to successfully pass data from one screen to another. Remember earlier that we added a drawer to our activity, right? This is why this button here is showing. Right, when you click on it, you see this page, this drawer opens, right? When you click on it again, this drawer opens. Now how do you add items on this page? When you click on this, right, it brings up this page to you. It has two tabs here. You have the view and the custom view. Whenever you add a drawer to your activity, a custom view is created for that drawer, right? It's by default, it comes with every drawer. So when you customize your view inside the drawer is where you go to the custom view. You'll see this view called the drawer main, right? So click on it. If you click on it, you see this empty space bar here. So here you can now customize what you want your drawer to look like, right? So I want to have a list of items inside my drawer. Normally it comes by an image, so let's see what we can do. Add an image, make the width to match parent, give it a height of 50 or 100. Let's give it a height of 200. Give it a height of 200. Next, add text views. For illustration purpose, just add text in views like this, because normally this is what every app comes with. You can also add image, buttons, anything at all. So now let's test this app and see what we get. When you click on the drawer opener, it opens this page. So remember, you have the choice of customizing and making your page look like whatever you want, right? You have the choice of customizing and adding anything to your page at all, and then making it look like what you want it to look like. One more thing before we end this video is so we've explained what the variable is and what the view tab is, right? But we've not explained the rest, right? The list here is simply the same thing as a variable, but instead of just a single variable, you have the choice of creating a list of variables, right? You have a choice of creating a list of items. So you can add a list here. You also have the choice of choosing whether it's a string, a map, or a number. You just give it a name, items, and then it is being added. So here are the different things you need to manipulate the list. We'll be seeing the practical use of each of these items building our practical apps. The control tab gives you options of having more control over your code. So let's say you want to repeat a certain process over a specific time, you just specify the number of times you want to repeat it, 3 times. So then let's say you want to show a message on the screen 3 times, right? You do that, type in the message, test. Now what this block of code does is it repeats this, whatever is inside is repeated the number of times specified there, right? That's for the control. The operator is just a tab where you have options of manipulating variables, and yeah, the operator is a tab where you have options of manipulating variables. So if you want to check if a variable is the same with another, you add this, use this. Yeah, if you want to perform mathematical calculations, you go to the math tab, right? So here you have different functions, mathematical functions you can add to your app. In case you want to create a calculator app, you can use this to create the app. This file tab gives you different options of manipulating files. So you can create a new file here, you can edit a file, you can delete a file, you can view the folder, a specific folder, right? So this tab will be very useful when we are building the WhatsApp status saver app, right? So you see a practical use of each and every one of the things we'll be needing here, right? So the view, as already described, is where you get different functions of manipulating a view. So if you want to make a view invisible, for instance, you come to this view tab, then you look for visibility, right? So you drag and drop. What the visibility does is you select the view. These are the views on our screen currently. So you select any view you want to make invisible, then set the visibility parameter. You have 3 options here: visible, invisible, and gone. The difference between the invisible and gone is that the invisible makes the view disappear, while it still takes the space it's supposed to take, but the gone makes the view disappear without leaving a trace on the screen. Yeah, they're both the same thing, but one leaves a trace while the other doesn't. Everything about your activity, you can find them here also. This is how you create logic behind the views of your app. Like, this is the back end of every app, right? This is how you create the back end of every app, right? It's very easy using Sketchware to create back end of app. Imagine yourself coding all of this from scratch right now. Like, this will run to lines and confusing codes, right? Sketchware has made this easy for you. So I hope this video was explanatory enough. If you still have a question, do not mind to send it in the comment section and I'll reply it as soon as possible. Thank you and see you in the next video.